Well, the success of the Barrie Colts is a lesson for all expansion franchises that it's possible to compete right out of the box, a lesson that has not been lost on the Brampton Battalion. In a flurry of press releases, photo ops, and media days, the flamboyant Don Cherry brought his new Mississauga Ice Dogs to the OHL. Even the famous Blue was on hand to help sell season's tickets. And as the 20th team headed for their OHL debut in the new state-of-the-art Hershey Center, the Ice Dogs reflected the high profile of their owner. Meanwhile, a few kilometers away, another new team, the 19th OHL squad, was quietly going about its business. With the exception of one press conference early last year to announce that they had become the Brampton Battalion, the new team had chosen a more low-key approach, leaving Mississauga to enjoy the expansion limelight. Their owner had enjoyed some media attention himself over the years as the co-inventor of a very popular board game. But owning this franchise was no trivial pursuit for Scott Abbott, and he made a decision early on to lay the groundwork not just for the inaugural 98-99 season, but for the next 3 years as well.
We want to establish a winning culture and a winning tradition here from the beginning, because the people who are here now are the ones who set the standards for everybody who comes afterwards.
Greg McNamara, an experienced OHL hand, was hired as president. McNamara, no stranger to expansion teams, having helped build the new Barrie Colts in the mid-1990s. In Barrie, McNamara's strategy had included finding an experienced OHL coach, and he had hired Bert Templeton to guide the expansion club. True to Abbott's plan, he followed this same pattern in Brampton, hiring Stan Butler as the club's first head coach and director of hockey operations. First order of business, the OHL expansion draft and the beginning of a 3-year plan to ice a serious contender in the OHL. Youth was central to that plan, and the Brampton squad drafted a younger team than any expansion team in OHL history. Next up, the OHL priority draft last June. Defense, the cornerstone of any expansion club, and the battalion used their first pick overall to draft Jay Harrison, a 6'3" rear guard who should be a big part of Butler's long-term plan. The team also drafted a record 32 midget-age players over the 28 rounds to complete stage 1 of their strategy.
We're going to try to play 4 lines and develop players, and we realize that if we're going to be successful, it's going to be, it's going to be in year 2 or 3 that we're going to be really successful, and the only way we're going to do that is we're going to play the younger guys this year.
5 months into their first campaign, the results are not clearly evident as the team struggles through a typical expansion year, clearly ahead of their expansion rival, Ice Dogs, but about even with or behind first-year teams in the past. But it is a long-term plan, and like the game its owner helped create, time will tell whether the questions will be answered. The battalion get all the pieces of the pie and goes on to win the big game. And Battalion Chairman Scott Abbott is here to talk about the progress of the team. Scott, how long, we've seen the packaging, it's first rate, how long before the product on the ice catches up with it?
I think we're another draft away from adding a little more depth, and I've said for some time that we'll be a very dangerous hockey team by Christmas next season. So I hope that by December we'll be a force to be reckoned with wherever we're going and whoever we're playing.
I guess the term is growing pains. How painful is it as an owner sitting back and seeing this neophyte franchise get off the ground?
I wouldn't call it painful. I expected to get a lot of enjoyment out of this whole operation and the project, and quite honestly, it's more than exceeded my expectations. So I'm having a great time, and it's not a surprise. This is a tough league, and you can't walk in here with 23 players, 18 of whom are rookies, and expect to start pasting or even beating regularly well-established teams with a lot of veterans.
The big question mark, and I guess it's not a question mark really, is Jason Spezza. You gave him a chance as a 15-year-old. He certainly delivered for you, and yet obviously you have to be a little depressed because he's going down the road to Mississauga in the draft.
Well, he's a highly likely first overall pick. It's not determined who has the first overall pick yet, but if he goes to Mississauga, he'll go there because they've earned the selection. So we'll see what happens there.
And that also means that you've come out ahead in terms of first-year success. What are the goals that you've set beyond this season? I know you wanted to lay the foundation. Has that been laid to your satisfaction?
I'm very pleased with the foundation we've established and the nucleus we've acquired here. Yes, we wanted to draft well, scout well, and draft well for this season, get a good group of young talent together. When I look at our young talent and the amount of it by necessity and project it to next year and the year beyond, I think we'll stack up against anybody. So as I said previously, we've got to get at least one more draft in, and we will attempt to compete next year, and I think we can, and I think we'll be legitimate contenders the year after.
It won't be long before we say we'll see you in the playoffs.
Well, certainly hope so, yes.
Thanks, Scott. Scott Abbott, chairman of the Brampton Battalion. Our OHL Game of the Week continues in just a moment.